All right. I am here with Lee Halyard. Hey, Lee.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back. You've been on our podcast before. I forget
Indeed.
what the topic was. Do you remember?
I was just trying to remember what it was. I know it had to do with real estate.
Right. Well, I wanted to bring you back on because you've been in real estate nearly 30 years. You've seen a lot. Um, you're the broker owner of Lee S. Long name, Lee S. Halyard Real Estate
Yes,
and
Halyard
Associates.
That's right.
Okay, in Southeast Virginia. And I wanted to chat with you a little bit about, Zillow, now a brokerage, has now not only they own .lube, but now they own Showing Time. And it's been kind of a big uproar. But I wanted to get your perspective on what does this really mean, in your opinion?
For me, it's not going to mean a great deal of anything. We never invested any of our company dollars into Zillow
Okay.
to have that prominent placement or to have the leads call you. And now our multiple list, like every other multiple listing service, we typically aggregated to Zillow.
Right,
And
along with 4 million other
yes,
websites,
yes,
like when they were
exactly.
simply a third party.
Exactly.
But even so, even though, like, as real estate agents, we also aggregate to other brokerages'
Yes, indeed.
websites too. So that kind of remains the same, I
Sure,
guess. Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
So, as far as is Zillow being a brokerage, I don't think I'm going to see any. People will tell you I'm short-sighted, but I have a little bit of a track record to fall back and rely upon that conclusion simply because in 1994, when I got into real estate, there was this big, mean lion coming over the mountain, and it was called the internet. And it was going to put us all out of business in a couple of years. You better get ready to do something else because you're not going to be doing this much longer. The biggest change that remains from the internet, in my opinion, or back then it was anyhow, was the fact that we no longer had those big voluminous MLS books that we hauled
Right.
around and showed people. Those things went away pretty promptly, and that
Do
was a good
you
change.
do you think yeah, that is good. But you know how like with everything good, there's also like there's like positive and negative, right?
Uh-huh.
So what was the positive thing is it made things a lot more efficient,
Sure.
right?
Mhm.
But what was the negative for the internet making everything easier?
I can't think of a negative right
Uh-huh.
now at this moment, other than I wouldn't say the internet by itself, but automation in its entirety, I think, has lessened the quality of real estate professionals. I was just
And
looking at a
you
thread
mean
here.
their relations? What do you mean?
I
Quality
mean,
how?
relationships with other people. There was a lady on here on one of these real estate threads I was looking at this morning, and she says, "Why won't the other agent just call me back? Why won't they just call me back?" And I thought to myself,
Talk
well,
about that all the
they're
time.
probably thinking I paid for this automation. Why is this lady calling me?
Right.
So that's probably. I think we've lost a little bit in not being able. There was something to be said back in long time ago for handwriting the offer, putting it in a big envelope, and driving 15 miles across town.
Lee, no, man. It's like you had the buyers and the sellers had like more skin in the game if they received this like handwritten offer. Can
No,
you
no, no,
imagine?
well, yeah, not the handwritten letter, not the love letter. I'm not talking about the
No, the
love.
offer.
Yes, yes.
No, I was thinking, I can see how like back in the 90s, I mean, I didn't get into real estate until like 08, 09. So, but when e-signatures first started happening, it was like there's going to be so many scams with these e-signatures. And it almost is a little bit too easy to make an offer, which also makes it a little bit too easy to get out of an offer.
I agree. I
And then
totally
with the
agree with you.
internet, it's like it made it more efficient, but it also gives too much of the potentially wrong information to the buyer before they've had a chance to talk to the professional, and like
Mhm.
try to help them through some things. So it's like, I don't know. But I think with this, with Zillow no longer being a third party, they are now a
A
brokerage,
competitor.
right? A
They are
competitor, right?
our competitor. Yes.
I think it raises a couple of issues. Should and would the MLSs widely use a service owned by one of their, I want to call them constituents, but that's not the right word. But do you know
The
what I mean?
competitor. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like how does that affect the other brokerages?
It probably does in a way that has yet to be seen, in my view. I don't know, but I get the concern. I get the point. Well, simply because things have changed. It's not been what they said. They said we will never be your competitor. We will never
Right.
be your a brokerage. Now here we are.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, things
why?
do change, I don't know what the right, but
But so now, why would
now
I
what?
have a service called showing time? I mean, you would feel like you're enriching your competitor. I don't know if you are enriching your competitor by using an ancillary service that would allegedly have nothing to do with their business as being a brokerage.
Yeah.
It's now to that end, I use a company here in town. I do a lot of property management as well.
Hmm.
There's other real estate. Just one real estate company owns a repair company. I use that repair company.
Okay.
I don't lose anything by doing that, but I think this is a little different. I think because there's data collection involved, lots and lots of data collection,
Right.
massive scale involved on a national basis as well. So yeah,
Well, I think if I was like the third party vendor providing, like if I owned Showing Time, I guess, and I owned one of the largest internet sites that a lot of consumers went to, and my main concern was consumer experience. One of the holes that I would see in the process of being a realtor is most buyers want it now. They want what they want and they want it now. There's not, anyway, they go crazy, right?
yes.
So now I own the ability to see the house. So already the customers are coming to my website. I now own the scheduling site. So, and my business model is selling that, then those customers' data and information back to real estate agents. So I would allow the consumer to book an appointment, and then I would sell that appointment to the realtors.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, no, I had not given that any consideration at all. And that's a valid concern for everybody.
It is because now, but to what I think too is as I mean, we've gotten in a lot of fights about this on the podcast. A lot of buyers agents do not make buyers sign buyer agreements. So then I'm wondering, okay, if then it turns into buyers agents having signed buyer agreements, is now the brokerage crossing signs because they're scheduling the appointment, selling it back to the agent, a different agent, likely, that has a signed agreement with a different agency.
I would think there would be somewhat of a break in a fiduciary for simply selling an appointment. That
I
I
don't
haven't given
know.
that.
That's an interesting question, though, right? Like, is
Yeah.
it?
Selling an appointment after it's been booked and you control you control the company making
You control
the data, right?
and you already have an agreement. Like, I wonder if agreements made with the MLS to use a showing service, I wonder if that agreement outlives the owner of that company.
I
I
wonder.
imagine it does because when you sell rental property, the lease
Stays with the
outlive,
company,
it doesn't matter, right? So
right?
like if it does, then what is the current privacy policy on the data? Are they allowed to make some of that public? I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to make these appointments available to the public. Like, oh, you want to see this house? So does 400 other people. Here's your slot. Oh, by the way, we can do you can do self showings. So if you could do self showings, then what happens to the buyer's agents?
Yeah. I think if any seller in this particular market, they would be foolish to let people come in and look at it by themselves. In my opinion,
Yeah, but they do.
you would have a parade of people coming in and out the place.
Yeah, but that's what they have now.
Wow.
So what's
Wow.
the difference? And a
Yeah.
lot of them are using recordings, and people do allow self showings. I mean, tons of rental companies have been using it for years,
Yeah.
right?
I've never done that. I've never done that.
I've
Um,
never done it either, but a lot of people do.
yeah. 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 No, that's something I've never, yeah, that's a point I've not considered. Wow.
I mean, do you think the consumer, okay, so if I'm a consumer, because the whole thing is about consumer experience, right? So like I'm a consumer and I call my agent and my agent says that they can't get me in until like 4 o'clock because they have other appointments or whatever, right? But like I'm desperate, right? They're desperate. This is how buyers are. Even in other markets, they're crazy. So I want to see that at noon and I go online and I see there's an appointment available at noon. It's a self showing. I schedule it. I don't have an agreement signed with my buyer rep.
You've left your buyer's rep in the dust.
Yeah. And it's, and I don't know the difference. Like, what's the problem? I'm a consumer. I have no idea
You're
what
a
the difference
consumer.
is.
You want the house. You
Yeah, you
don't
want
want
the
the
house.
house.
That's
All
it.
these other technicalities and mechanics, they just don't
Yeah.
really seem to matter much. You need to move. You want the house. You got the slot. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, I don't own it. But if
Right,
it wasn't a breach of, if it wasn't crossing signs, which most of the time it's not because these agents aren't getting buyer agreements, then
right.
what's the problem? There's no problem.
And I would say a large percentage of it, even if they did have a buyer agreement, a large would abandon that and forget they ever signed it because they saw the one they want to have.
Right. And you would have
Nothing
to,
else
as the
matters.
agent, sue your client, which you're not going to do. I mean,
Right.
you could, but even then, it could then probably be an automated system. Oh, email pops up after you're showing. Do you like this house? Oh, great. Here's how, just make an offer. What would you like to offer? Upload your driver's license, upload your pre-approval. Okay, offer sent to the seller. Like it's all automated.
I haven't seen that.
No, but I mean, why not? Right now,
Um,
you can get an offer from an investor sight unseen, just putting in information. They do it on cars all the time.
yeah,
Yeah. So if they're doing it on cars, then why not on houses? And then if that happens, then what happens? I still think and I think you agree with this, there are still going to be a majority of people that want to work with a professional one-on-one and want to
I
follow
think
the
a
process.
strong majority. I think a strong
I think it
majority
is too. But why?
because that's the way they've always done it. That's the way they feel better. They look somebody in the eye. They trust that person,
Mhm.
and they have an advocate and they have a liaison into the marketplace. Somebody who's done nothing but this for years and years. They don't do this but once every 7 to 8 years.
Right. Most people.
Lots of stuff changes. They do this once every 7 or 8 years, and then but that's the way it's worked with me. I mean, I've got the same people coming back over and over and over again.
Right.
And if I almost feel like calling one of them up here over the weekend and say, "Hey, did you know Zillow bought showing time?"
Mhm.
Their response to me would probably be, "What does that even
Yes.
mean?
Yeah, they don't
By
even
the way,
know.
do you want to sponsor the softball team again this year, or we're moving in a couple of years? Keep an eye on what our house is worth. That kind of.
Exactly.
That's probably
That's
the
it. I think it's really interesting though. I think in general, and we've talked about this before, in general, our real estate I think we're behind. Like we need to catch up. And if
what technology.
yeah, technology, like our processes, our systems, the way that we go about doing things, like I think it's an interesting, and sometimes you don't change until you're forced. So this could be,
Maybe it is. I mean, I've been waiting to be forced for many years. I mean, I went and I got my license while I was still on active duty, and they said, "Well, this big lion's coming over the mountain. It's called the internet, and it's going to put us all out of business." I'm bracing. Okay, all right, all right.
and then it didn't.
No, no, no. It helped things out. It helped automation in a few areas,
Mhm.
but and today I still don't see the people I work with being, I don't feel like I'm going to be replaced.
No, I don't think that we can. I think in some cases, yeah, we can. And that's where you have like a lot of companies are doing like where investors buy the house. And a lot of agents are doing that where they'll buy the house for like an investor price if it doesn't sell and things like that. But that's just a small portion of people. It's just not, I don't
But
know.
they sure get a lot of airtime on TV, don't they?
Yeah, right. They sure do. Well, you gotta buy it. I don't know. I think it's interesting to try to think about how are we forced to be changed and what that means, you know?
Right. I'm in a small company. It's just a few I mean, my wife and my daughter and me. If I was in a larger company, maybe I would feel that force. I
Yeah,
remember how the Wednesday morning sales meetings used to be when the newest, greatest thing would come out and they would come out and spoon feed it to everybody. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to buy. And this is what's going to grow your business. So I've not been subjected to that in quite some time.
right.
But maybe that's, if that's the leadership that's being done in some of the larger companies where their agents are being goaded into paying for things they really don't need. That's
Yeah.
another whole
I think
story.
it all kind of nets down to real estate is a relationship business and it
Mhm.
is I like it's about the people and it's about having conversations. And there's such a large percentage of buyers and sellers that actually want to work with people. And until that percentage becomes a less than the people who want it automated, we likely don't have any problems.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
just
I
hype and
think
hysteria for no reason, like the internet was.
exactly. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you being on. If somebody has a referral for you, you said Southeast Virginia, right?
Well, Chesapeake, Virginia is where we do the bulk of our business. Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, Portsmouth, Norfolk, anywhere in that area. It's called the South Side of Hampton Roads. My
Okay.
website is leehalyard.com. That's LeeHalyard.com.
Love it. Is that the best way to get a hold of you? Is on the website?
My cell phone, which I have it right here,
Is it a
and
flip phone? Oh,
I
it's my phone.
I will answer it. I will answer it. Within the third ring, I'll answer it unless I'm doing something else. Like in a few minutes, I'm going to closing. So you
Nice.
might get voicemail, but it's 757-472-5772.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure as always. You have great perspective. It's kind of fun to talk to somebody who's been in for almost 30 years. It's just
Go
so
ahead,
different.
say it. An old person. It's fun to talk to an old person, right?
Hey, good luck on your closing
Hey,
today.
thanks so kindly. Hey, so always a pleasure. Call me anytime.
Bye, Lee.
Bye now.